When I told my brother, a 42-year-old single dad, incredibly stressed out from his lack of sleep and the chronic pain he dealt with about float therapy, do you know what he said? He told me he could float at home in his bathtub. Immediately, anger surged up into my brain, and the only thought I had in my mind was, "Sit down, little Billy, it's time to take you to school." See, I had been floating consistently for over 3 years at the time, and it had changed my life, so I knew it could change his too. So I did what any good sister who loves her brother would do, and I held my cool. I needed to find a way to have one of those good old come to Jesus talks with him. I said, "Bill, do you have 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt laying around the house? And just in case you do for some strange reason, the last time I checked, you weren't living large like the King of England with thousands of dollars to flush down the drain after 60 to 90 minutes of pleasure." He started to chuckle a bit. I knew I was beginning to break through to him. I mean, I can be pretty delightful at times. Next, I said, "Bill, I've seen your tub, and not even Joe Dirt would step foot in it. I'm almost 100% certain you haven't recently installed a state-of-the-art temperature gauge to keep the water at 94 degrees, the temperature of your skin, for your 60 to 90 minute excursion." Now, I have to tell you something about my brother. He gets angry when he's wrong. So let's say he got very defensive at that moment. So I had to stop making fun of his tiny tub there. For the record, even his 3-year-old daughter would touch the sides if she tried to stretch out in there. At that moment, I thought back to my first float. I remember feeling apprehensive as I walked in to try it for the first time. I was worried about not being able to open the lid if I felt anxious, or not being able to turn the lights and music on if I was creeped out. But I found out these were all things I had in my head. I had complete control over my experience. It was much easier than I made it out to be. So I left it there, knowing he might want to float with the lid open or the lights and music. I wasn't going to mention that his bathroom had way too much light and sound coming in to compare it to a float tank, because I didn't want him to think he was going to be in a horror scene from the movie It, where you'll float too. So I decided to do what any good sister would do, and we made a bet. Here were the stipulations. If he went to float and didn't like it, I told him I'd fly him and his daughter to Disneyland on an all-expenses-paid trip. But if I did fly them out, he could never use the float tank again. While I'm sad to say this, it's 1 year later and my niece has still never been to Disneyland. But don't be sad for her. See, we're all winners here. That trip to Disneyland is booked. My brother uses float therapy regularly, and most importantly, I was right.